All right, welcome to episode 5 of our YouTube leadership channel, where we take about 5 minutes and just talk about a principle or a habit that will help us become better at what we do as far as church reaching this county for Jesus. So today, before we get into this episode, the thing is this: if you are a ministry at TWC, then you, in a sense, need to be a factory producing leaders. I mean, it's so important to be producing, every ministry producing leaders. The pipeline needs to be open. If a church is producing and growing and developing leaders, then they're doing well. But as soon as that leadership pipeline is shut and the ministries aren't producing leaders, then the church will be in decline. That's kind of the reality of that. So the question we always have to be asking ourselves is, especially if you're a ministry leader, is how can we develop and grow leaders? How can we develop and grow leaders? So I want to talk to you, and this is just the beginning of our talk. We'll probably talk about this for 4 weeks. This idea, strategy to develop and grow leaders. And that's going to be our place yourself. That's the episode. Replace yourself. I think this is the best strategy in developing and growing leaders. Now, I want to kind of clarify what replace yourself means. Replace yourself does not mean that you're no longer needed. So you're not trying to work yourself out of a job so you can just kind of sit back and watch football on Sunday. Replace yourself doesn't mean that you're not responsible for your ministry. So even if you hand off that ministry, you're still responsible for the things that you've handed off. But replace yourself does mean that you need to continue to train and develop new leaders by giving away your responsibilities to others so you can, in fact, grow in your responsibilities. We, as a church, need to continue to grow in our influence, and the only way to do that is by growing and developing leaders. And when we fail to replace ourselves, a few things happen here. If you fail to replace yourself, you will force talented individuals to remain in the wings. So you've got some amazing leaders that feel like you got it all together, and they're just sitting back with great talent. In a sense, Derek Jeter's riding the bench of the church softball team, in a sense. If you fail to replace yourself, you cause potential leaders to exit the organization or ministry. If they're not going to be used, then they'll go somewhere else. Or you'll stifle a needed insight from valuable team members. Won't get input from them. If you don't replace yourself, you will hinder your ability to recruit volunteers, because places that don't replace yourself, it's a stifling environment, and it's like us for no more, and they have a hard time recruiting volunteers. And also it limits the growth of your program or ministry. So this is just kind of the first part 1 of replacing yourself, but the question we need to be left with is, what is your strategy then to replace yourself? See you next week.